Welcome, Matt here from the Mr. Gardener YouTube channel, and today we're reviewing the STIHL HS 56C semi-professional petrol hedge cutter. This costs about £480 here in the UK. It has a dry weight of 4.5 kilos, which is very light for a petrol tool. It's a 21cc engine. We have sound figures of 95 decibels and 107 decibels, and vibration figures of 5.5 and 4.7. This one is fitted with the 60cm bar with a 2 spacing of 34mm and a stroke rate of 3600 RPM. It has an overall length of 104 centimeters. It has a fuel tank capacity of 2.8 litres and EPA certified fuel consumption figures of 0.488. So they're the stats on the machine. Now, we bought this one to replace our Husqvarna hedge cutter, which was struggling with carburetor issues. So we haven't used this as much as some of their hedge cutters, because fairly soon after we bought this, we actually bought the HSA 94T electric hedge cutter, which I've done a video on and I'll link in the cards. So that's the one we've kind of been using primarily, but this has been our sort of backup hedge cutter. Things I like about this machine are it's got a very nice pull start. It's not too heavy a pull start, it's quite light, and as I say, it tends to start on the second or third pull. It has a slightly different choke arrangement, but it's a semi-automatic choke, which again, once you get the hang of where the positions are, is a lot simpler than having to a manual choke system, so that's nice to have as well. As I mentioned, the vibration figures are sort of middling in terms of they're not as low as you can get. This doesn't come with a full vibration dampening kit. It has rubber seals and things like that, so it has more vibration dampening than say the Husqvarna or the HS45. So those figures aren't bad, and you can use it for fairly long periods of time, and you don't tend to have that problem of tingling fingers and things like that, which you would certainly get if you use a HS45 or something, which I wouldn't recommend using for long periods of time. So that's good, but it could be better. But it is primarily designed as a lightweight hedge cutter, so putting a vibration dampening system on there would make it quite large and a lot heavier as well. The main reason we bought it was that low weight, and it is pretty much as light as you can get for a petrol hedge cutter. It does come with a few sacrifices because of that low weight, but that's really nice to have such a low weight. I mean, that's almost rivaling electric tools in terms of its weight. It cuts well. We also have a tip guard, which I've always mentioned in my videos. Always like having that, and that came as standard as well. It's a very comfortable machine to use. It's not overly long as well. It does mean if you're working, you might have to bend over a little bit more, but it does mean you don't have to have your arm really high on some of the longer hedge cutters that I've used. It's nicely balanced as well, and it feels really nice in the hand. Inevitably, there are a few things that I'm not so keen on, and I think would be better if they could have added a few features to this. So it is classed as a semi-professional hedge cutter, but it doesn't come with an adjustable handle. It's not something that you use every single day, but certainly as a professional it does come in handy. And as I say, it would be nice to have that. When you're hedge cutting, a lot of hedge cuttings and stuff seems to get drawn up onto the filter of the carburetor, which is not something that has happened with many of my other hedge cutters. It doesn't cause a problem, but it's something you just have to manage. You have to clean it that little bit more regularly than on some of my other hedge cutters. Also, I find even using STIHL's own oils, I tend to use the super oil, but I have used Aspen in here as well, is I find it's a very smoky engine. It also tends to spit oil at you. I think it's partly down to the positioning of the exhaust, which is down here, which it's a slightly funny position. Most of the time the exhaust is firing onto the hedge cutter blade or away, but this one seems to be in a slightly awkward position, which tends to smoke you out, and that's even using things like Aspen fuel, which is supposed to be as clean burning as you can get. So it's not the cleanest burning engine. I'm not quite sure why that is, but as I say, the positioning of the exhaust may have something to do with that. Also, because it's a small machine, they fitted a small fuel tank. Now, this fuel tank is 0.28 litres, which is really quite small. A lot of them are often quite a bit bigger than that, which does mean it has a very short run time. This one will run for about half an hour, maybe less, maybe a bit more at full chat, which is how you tend to run it. So I've had my HSA 94T, electric tools famed for their poor run time. I've barely used one part of the battery and I've had to fill this up practically 3 times. So the idea that petrol tools are more practical and more efficient than electric tools, this one isn't the case because of that small fuel tank, and it may well be slightly thirsty as well. Also, to do with the fuel tank is its positioning. It's positioned here for balance, but it's a very awkward position. If you're using a non-spill nozzle, it's fine. You can just pop it in and it sits flatly on the floor and it's perfectly fine. But if you're pouring directly from a fuel can, which I wouldn't recommend because you waste a lot of fuel, not great for the environment, but you'll end up pouring it all over the floor, all over wherever you're working. So it's an awkward positioning. I know why they put it there, but it's still awkward. So you really got to have some sort of nozzle or funnel to fill this up. Also, this is the only fuel cap I am aware of that comes with 2 pages of instructions on how to use it. It's totally over-engineered. A simple screw cap would have been absolutely fine. I'm not quite sure why they persist with putting these on, but it's not great. One final point, with the blade speed of 3600, having used the HS94T, I'm a little bit spoiled in terms of blade speed because that goes up to 5000 RPM, whereas this languishes at 3600, which is quite low. It's perfectly capable of going through rough and fine stuff, and it does a very good job of that, don't get me wrong, but it is on the lower side compared to something like the HS94T. So I'd like to have seen it a little bit faster, but it's perfectly adequate, and as I say, it does give a very good cut, a very good finish. So to conclude then, I think it's a very good hedge cutter. I certainly would recommend it over, say, the HS45. It is quite a bit more expensive, but I think it is worth paying that bit extra because of those lower vibrations. You can use it for that bit longer. It's lighter as well, and for a petrol hedge cutter it is very good. I really do like using it. That applies if you're a professional gardener like myself, using it for fine hedge cutting, box topiary work and stuff. This is perfect for that. Or, not that it's primarily designed, but it will do the rougher stuff as well. It's better suited to the slightly finer stuff, but it will do the rougher stuff if you ask it to. And if you're a homeowner, that lighter weight, lower vibrations does make a lot of sense, and you won't regret getting it. It is a very good machine. So there you go, there's my review of the STIHL HS 56C. I hope you found it useful and interesting. If you did, give us a thumbs up and maybe consider subscribing for more videos like this. If you have any comments or questions about the video or the hedge cutter featured, drop them in the comment section and I'll get back to you on those. And that just leaves me to say thanks again for watching. Bye for now.